This is Straight Talk with Enlivening Greg Penn, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shannon Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fan, the Preacher Man.
Welcome tonight to Straight Talk with your truly Greg Fan, the Preacher Man, and Brother Ronald Allen. And Shannon is probably going to jump in a little later on. His mother had surgery. We're just praying for her, so pray for his mom. And he's being a good son, sent by the mom and his dad. So let's keep them lifted in prayer. And he probably will get on a little later on, but if not, that's the reason why. But anyway, I just wanted to just say tonight, there's so much going on. Ron and I are going to unpack some stuff that's going on. The bulldozer, the crane and everything tearing down the east wing of the White House. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Have mercy, Lord. And all of this is to conceal what? Now asking for $3 million versus the two something he was asking for because he felt like he was wrongly dealt with Jack Smith and his case against him. So he thinks that he's deserving of $3 million of taxpayers' money. He ain't getting enough from all the money he's taking through Bitcoins and all those other things that he's doing. $1 million a plate dinner to eat with the president. Boy, Jesus. Come on. But listen, we're going to talk more about it tonight. Don't go nowhere. I'll be back on the other side with Brother Ron and hopefully Shannon. And Miss C is not going to be with us again tonight, but she'll be with us next week. Okay? All right. It's getting close to the holidays and people are getting ready for holidays. We're coming up to Thanksgiving and Christmas. Jesus is the reason for the season. Well, welcome. We're back on the other side, and Shannon is here. He is here. He's here. He's here talking about the Falcons, and him and Ron talking about the Falcons. I don't know why they so hung up on the Falcons. The Falcons are losers. They're losers.
Birds. Dirty birds.
They are dirty. That's why they ain't losers. They dirty. They too dirty to be winners.
What did you say? I've never met a preacher that ran around saying that he was for the robbers.
I never said that I was for the robbers. I'm for the steel curtain. I said I'm for the steel curtain. That's what I'm for, the steel curtain.
You said the Steelers. The Steelers are thieves.
Let me put it like this right here. We got a lot of rain, bro. We got a lot of rain. We got a lot of rain, son. That's all I can say. If y'all wouldn't throw down so many preachers.
Okay, but we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about quarterback and female hostages. Let's just move it on.
Let me tell you something. If you hadn't tore down the church, that lady told you when y'all tore down something about burning, she said y'all ain't gonna never win nothing.
I wish the hell we would have left second Mount Vernon on the 50-yard line. And ran around.
Hey guys, let's get ready. Let's have some serious talk. Let's talk about the East Wing that's being torn down at the White House. The East Wing that's being torn down at the White House. Have you ever heard of such a thing? He's rewriting history and rewriting everything. He thinks that he's building a Trump Tower at the White House. He already put gold all on the West Wing. Now he's tearing down the East Wing.
Bishop, he's not rewriting history. This man is literally destroying this country. And this is what happens when you put a sociopath who probably hasn't checked in with his psychiatrist in a while. He probably hasn't taken his medicine, or he probably has not been diagnosed. So you have an undiagnosed, they think he's a narcissist. He's beyond a narcissist. Donald Trump is a sociopath. And anytime you can sit there and tell someone to tear down the East Wing of the White House, where Eleanor Roosevelt welcomed Mary McLeod Bethune. The East Wing, where presidents would go into their wives' room, close the door, and cry about the pain and the fear and the things that they're dealing with, the pressure of this nation, the stuff that turns their hair white in 4 years. The East Wing of the White House, where the country, citizens enter in to be welcome, to walk down that colonnade, as I did and so many others, perhaps you all have, to enter into the White House for the White House tour. I mean, it's unthinkable. And we're giving this boy we give him a lot of room here, man. This man is torn down. You can't tear down a building in Atlanta, a historical building in Atlanta. What makes you think that you could roll over? He says, well, they told me, sir, because everything is sir, because this extreme narcissist slash sociopath has to make everything reduced to him. So everybody calls him sir. God wakes him up and says, sir, good morning. I mean, he literally, sir, this is your house. You can do what you want to do. You can hang some curtains or something up. Maybe you want to change the rug, or okay, yeah. Perhaps you want to pave over Nixon, put the press room over the swimming pool. Okay, fine. You want to do that? You paved over the rose garden. Whoa! But then you turn around, you put gold and stuff all over the wall. Okay, fine. But you think that it means that you need to tear down one? Well, Truman did it. The daggone building was getting ready to collapse when Truman came and he preserved the building. He didn't bull him, and he lied. He lied. This man is a liar. He said, I'm going to build this wall. Hold on one second. Let me
Wait a minute. I got to say this. I want to say this, though. Tell us something we don't know. We know he's a liar. But go ahead.
He's a liar. He said it's not going to touch the building. And then he came back and just tore it down. And he's going to build a 90 square, what is it, 90,000 square feet?
90,000. 90,000.
90,000 square feet banquet hall that is almost double the size of the executive mansion. And he's doing this while federal workers are working and hungry. He's doing this while SNAP has been cut down today. Someone puts out a video where Ronald Reagan, the one who he stole, Make America Great Again, begins to talk about what tariffs will do ultimately, and they're doing them. And he rolls over and just destroys the talks with Canada, just cutting off relations with Canada and allowing those high tariffs to be there at the holiday season. That's it. I don't have to say anything. I've said everything I want to say for this show. Thank you.
Oh, you have? But Shannon, I think that what you've just said, and I had to interrupt you, though, but we all know he's a liar.
Fine.
Again, but we all know he's a liar. We all know he's a liar. Anybody that don't know he's a liar, they're a liar. They lying themselves, but they say they don't know he's not a liar. You a liar yourself. And liar, 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 your pants is on fire.
Give me $230 million. I mean, I can't.
Shannon, he done up the ante to 300 million. He wants 300 million now.
He wants $230 million for himself. And the person that oversees
from the
that
Department of Justice, mind you.
And they don't have
from the Department of Justice, he wants this from.
Yeah, Department of Justice.
And they don't have to announce if they gave it to him. Our money.
Exactly.
His attorney that he owes attorney fees to. Go ahead.
Lord have mercy. You know, I think your hair turning white just by saying it. You turning white, sitting over there, white.
Right here.
Now, for what we see it going white all over. But anyway, Ron, you can step in now, my friend. Step on in there, because Shannon just stepped on everything that called a man a liar, then we know he's a liar.
He better start taking account of the difference between cultural solidarity and multiculturalism. I've been talking for the last several weeks about the big tent philosophy of the Democrats and other oppositional parties that attempt to counter the Republicans. And to try to have a political majority made up of a series of disparate minority and rejected economic groups from the mainstream of whiteness, which is the foundation of the GOP. We see that there's only one political party in this country that has a bully pulpit because of the cultural solidarity of whiteness. That I wrote about this in my blog to start this year, and it is the birth and genesis of my ministry as an Exodus preacher, because this country, as Shannon said, has just declared that it is absolutely on the suicidal track, that it is looking to annihilate its own self-interest and self-preservation to continue to accommodate the ego and the centrism of white supremacy, to make their culture the central and most dominating element on the planet. This has been the mission since European exploration began in the 14th and 15th and 16th centuries, and America has taken that flawed paradigm to its most now extreme levels. Donald Trump is a complete authoritarian, but he has that because the rabble, the uncontrollable underbelly of this society, the FBI have been naming white nationalist militia groups, splinter groups, as the most domestic, the largest domestic terror threat the last 30 years. And the same way the federal government refused to root out the Ku Klux Klan and the White League of the South and the White Citizens Council throughout the 19th and 20th century to rebuke white nationalism, in that time the federal government has refused to go in and reduce these splinter groups and these domestic terror groups, and Trump has now aligned them culturally. He has been speaking dog whistles to them since the campaign in the first administration, when he told them to stand down and stand by. And the big tent philosophy of the Democrats and other oppositional parties has been ineffective in directing a multinational, multi-income level, diversity-based campaign. That the cultural solidarity of white Americans who voted for Donald Trump in the largest block in both elections, and I have to give a shout out to Black Americans who rarely get political credit for aligning ourselves against this authoritarianism. Black people voted over 85% Democratic in the last election, and a similar amount, even higher in 2020 for Joe Biden, and a similar amount, somewhere between 80 and 85% in 2016 as well. But the other racial groups in this country, Hispanics, were nearly 50-50 on Trump. The Asian community, nearly 50-50 on Trump. And so the Democratic Party has been unable, and other political parties in opposition to the GOP have been unable to establish a political majority that can rival and check the GOP, the Republican Party. So now Trump has a mandate. This was the major justification and word that so many right-based pundits made when Trump was reelected, that he now has a mandate to execute not even the will of the party, but his personal will. Even in the shutdown, you all have named a couple of things that Trump is doing, demolishing the East Wing without the permission from the government agencies that establish protocol of construction on federal buildings. Trump has made the line in the sand to say, you are going to have to do your job to check me. And when we look at the Democrats, the last Democrat to have a majority in both houses of Congress was Barack Obama, his first 2 years from 2008 to the midterm election in 2010. And this complete obsession that progressives and Democrats have with bipartisanship and only facilitating their agenda when they can get X number of Republicans to agree with them instead of ramrodding agenda items like raising the minimum wage, passing universal health care, and forcing this country to adjust to justice, even if it's on the fly. That this assumption that we have to wait to the perfect time to rein in the rivers of equality, justice, fairness, and the Bill of Rights, and all this rhetoric that we speak about the greatness of this nation, and we put up with right-wing extremism. This is the greatest boondoggle in taxpayer history, the way we are paying for troops to be on the ground, the way we're paying for the reconstruction of the White House, the way that Donald Trump is turning every initiative not only into a political victory for the white nationalist nihilism agenda, but also making it a windfall of cash for him and his personal family and network. I mean, he just pardoned the founder of his crypto partner, who has just ushered in, that company has just ushered in $4 billion in cryptocurrency to the Trump family since he has been in office. And the founder of that company, who pled guilty to corruption, has now just been pardoned by Donald Trump. He's a president for hire. He is a president that is centered on his own economic overindulgence at our expense. And his cronies in the Department of Homeland Security are doing the same thing, as Kristi Noem just have her 2 brand spanking new fighter jets, again, funded by taxpayers. So Trump is going to demolish the East Wing. He is going to triple the size of this infrastructure of this ridiculous 90,000 foot ballroom. He may even be able to build his Riviera along the West Bank and Gaza Strip, as we thought was so ridiculous. Maybe he's going to purchase Greenland too. Like he said, maybe he's going to do everything. Because if we think that the political majority of white Americans are going to stand up to this man, we have put ourselves in a position in which we refuse to get our communities in line for what is coming down the pipe. And we think we're going to be holding hands with our neighbor and embracing this disaster together, when the Trump administration is showing you better be with your crew. You better be with your folks who got your back, whose interests are tied to your interests. And this big tent philosophy continues to leave us vulnerable. So whereas Trump is doing what he's doing, apparently he has the power to do it. And until people check that power, we're going to be sitting here complaining until we're complaining in the cave, because that's the only shelter we have left.
Well, let me just step in, Ron. I like the way you unpack that. I love the way you unpack that. I think that one is that people need to open up their eyes to really see what's really going on, because Trump is, everybody that he has pardoned is a criminal. Everyone that he has pardoned is a criminal. Every one of them. Santos, he just pardoned Santos. And quiet as it kept, people they might as well get ready. He's going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. It's just a matter of time. It's the timing for him, but he's going to do it. He is going to do it. And people will say, I can't believe he did that. Well, can you believe anything that he's doing? And as you talked about the big tent theory, how that we have got to come together in terms of I like the No Kings rallies. I like the No King rally, but you know, one of the things that bothers me, Shannon, you and Ron, you are on a delay again. But the thing that bothers me again about this whole thing is we have a black caucus, Congressional Black Caucus. They sitting at home getting paid too. They're not rallying, coming together and saying, listen, we need to be standing up against this, and our voice needs to. That's another tent. It's supposed to be our tent, but they ain't standing up. and saying this ain't right. I mean, as a caucus, when they trying to do with the doing away with the Voters' Right Act now, right now in the Supreme Court, to do away with a lot of the seats that they're now sitting in. We're going back to Reconstruction. We're going back to Reconstruction when we had seats in Congress, we had seats in the Senate, and they took them away. And they're doing it again. And they're sitting up there and they still being quiet. Now listen, I think that they need to think, well, because, I got my pension, I'm going to, because I'm guaranteed that I'm guaranteed. You ain't guaranteed nothing. Not under this kind of administration. And what they're doing, they'll take away everything that you have away from you. And I've said this repeatedly. People better wake up and smell the coffee, smell the rose, or smell something, because there's some stink in the air. And it's getting louder, and it's smelling louder and louder and louder. When you work people and you don't pay them, and you tell them up front, you coming to work, and you're going to work because you're essential. But it don't mean that I'm going to pay you at the end of this, when it's, the bailout thing is over with, and we're back in session, and we're back with this, and we're back with this. Doesn't mean we're going to pay you, but you're going to work. You're going to work, but we may pay you, we may not pay you. Who ever heard of such a thing like that? And the young people don't understand. This has happened before. They told me they ain't gonna never do that again. They won't do it. They doing it right now. And you buying into it. It's time to smell the stink, and it's getting louder and louder and louder. It's like a landfill, guys. The landfill is down the road, way down the road.
Right.
And the closer you get, the more you can smell it. The closer you get, the more you can smell it. If you can't smell it, today everybody ought to be enraged, especially those people who are being evicted from apartments or being evicted from their homes. Those people ought to be enraged by him tearing down the East Wing of the White House with our taxpayers' money. They ought to be enraged about him talking about he wants $200-something million when your SNAP, your Tanner, your Medicaid, your Medicare, all those things are being taken away from you. That's the stink. Smell the stink. Now, what are you going to do? Well, and Ron, I'm going to your point that you made. The point that you made is, we'll be all right once 2026 comes, because when we take the Congress and maybe the Senate, then it'll be all right. Who says it's going to be all right? When we don't hold people accountable who we put in office? We don't hold them accountable to make sure that they're doing what I applaud the Democratic Party. I do applaud them for standing up for Medicare and Medicaid and health insurance prices, but they need to be standing up for more, and we need to be able to see the Black Caucus out here fighting and speaking out on what's wrong, and not just Jasmine Cochran and a few more, but they need to be a unified front. We are the United States of America. That united means that we are together. We are not together. A house divided will fall, and we're destined to fall. But you got to smell the stink, and it's getting louder and louder and louder, and it's stinking more and more and more. Nobody is saved with this administration. Nobody. I don't care who you are, what party you in, and you still ain't saved.
I want to make a quick loop. When Trump talked about he couldn't believe the opportunity the Democrats are giving him with the shutdown, because I do support the Democratic Party standing up for health care. But how long will protests remain peaceful when SNAP benefits keep Americans hungry, when rental assistance is putting more and more Americans on the threshold of eviction, that the meager subsidies that the federal government distributes to maintain some type of tiny check on unregulated poverty, on unregulated hunger, those have now been ended by the shutdown. And again, it's been a question I've been asking the last couple of weeks. Where are the organizations and the institutions that are available to providing food to these millions of American families? Where are the organizations that are stepping in, that are going to be able to provide transportation, that are going to be able to provide medicine, that are going to be able to provide the needs that the federal government has abdicated from affirmatively, proactively during this shutdown. So that is something that, because yes, as long as middle class Americans are on the streets in their costumes and making a party, singing folk songs, yes, they're going to be peaceful protests. But there may be coming soon an influx of disgruntled, hungry, upset Americans who may have less of an idea of how to most positively direct that anger, because where are our political action committees and programs that are connected to the people in the underclass, in the working class, that gives them the knowledge and the language to direct their anger at the right folks?
Well, Ron, let me just say this. It's all by design. Let's just think about it. It's all by design. If we take from you, you're going to go get angry. You're going to get, he's saying all these communities or cities and state that he's taking over is because of the crime in those areas. Well, if you're taking the things away from people that they need, then they're going to figure a way to get what they need. So you got more crime. They're going, yes, you're going to have the riots. You're going to have these things. So now what you're talking about is you're creating an element for insurrection, for a reason to say that you're putting out an insurrection because you're creating the insurrection. You're creating the framework for an inspiration. Because let me tell you, so people are not going to go without. They're going to figure out what they need to do. And you were absolutely right in with your point and your analysis, because folks are just not going to let their children not eat, let their children not have a place to stay. They're not going to do that, especially when they're used to that, and you're going to just take it away. You want us to now make bricks with straw? You want us to make bricks with straw, you Pharaoh? You want us to make bricks with straw? Come on now.
It's called self-preservation. And don't forget what the president told all of the commanders when they flew them to Quantico. He wants them to train in the cities. He's already talked about the Insurrection Act. So in Georgia tonight, SNAP is finished. So the elderly are not getting food stamps. Children, mothers will not receive food stamps. It's over. 40 million Americans. So right there, there is there is the staging for the Insurrection Act to come in play, because Bishop, you're absolutely right. People are going to eat, and they're going to go where the food is, and they're going to go where the money is. They're going to go where the people are, and they're going to take to survive. And in a very diabolical way, this is what Trump wants. But I want to go back to something that you said earlier when you talked about the absence of the Congressional Black Caucus. We were brought here, we as Black people, as Africans in America, were brought here in 1555. I know they say 1619, but there are about 64 hidden years that they do not that they do not recognize. And in those years, they were really working on the system and the systemic nature of being able to, how to make a slave and how to create this transatlantic slave trade and how it would work and who would benefit from it. Excuse me. So by the time 1619 had come, it was already done. Now, I'm not going to go into the history of all of that, but I want to say that from 1555, us being brought here, to January the 20th, 2009, when Barack Hussein Obama placed his hand on the Lincoln Bible and gave his oath of office as the President of the United States of America. The only reason that could happen from 1555 to January the 20th, 2009, was because there was a prophetic stream that ran through us as a people, how we could organize and how we could mobilize, and how we were sick and tired of being sick and tired. What you're seeing with the CBC today is a white ontological leadership, a leadership that is steeped in white feminists and white activists and white strategists and a Democratic Party that no longer has within it the prophetic nature. This is a Democratic Party that is generations away from Black power, generations away from civil rights. And so what they're rooted in is a lot of white think and white philosophy, and not rooted in the very liberative philosophy as we as African Americans brought in this country, so that we were able to come from slave ships to presidents, from slave ships to congressmen and mayors and city council folks and commissioners and business titans and all that. It took strategy, and it took prophetic, fearless fighting brothers and sisters. And you don't have that, and the Democratic Party doesn't have that. Because what we're seeing in Black leadership today is we're seeing a dearth of, we're seeing a loss of the raison d'etre of who we are. So we become so Americanized that we have lost our African minds. We have lost our prophetic minds. We have lost our liberative minds. And so it's so we no longer can redeem the soul of America, or shape the soul of America, or challenge the soul of America, or embetter the soul of America, because we have become so ingrained in what we were fighting against in the first place. And that's in our being, that we're losing who we are, and we're in a being of whiteness. And that's how we're scratching our heads, and folks don't know what to do. That's why we struggle to get preachers together, because we're losing our African minds. And that when you lose that, you lose the purpose, you lose the mother and father of civilization, you lose the authority, you lose Mayat, and you can't bring balance because you're imbalanced. And that's what we're looking at in the CBC. We need down brothers and sisters to run for office and to occupy these seats and to challenge us. They won't do it because Hakeem Jeffries is Black, and we don't want to challenge him because we don't want to embarrass him. Man, the hell with that. If the Democrats are not going to lead, the CBC should stand up, and it should be the most prophetic thing. Trump should be afraid. He should be fearful. He should be red-faced every time he hears the words Congressional Black Caucus. It should be like the prophets of God that's haunting him, and he should be afraid of them, because when he looks at them, he should be able to see the power of God in them. We've lost that. We had it, and that's how we went from slaves to president to congresswoman to congressman to business titan. And if we don't get that back, we'll be slaves again.
All right. Well, I do not disagree with you at all, because one, I am a product of segregation and integration, because as a kid, I was born in the 50s. So in the 50s, all the way up until actually 66 for me is when we start integrating schools here in Atlanta in 66. Graduated in 69. So that was after Dr. King. And then when I came out of school in 69, we were, you had the affirmative action program. People were getting jobs at Ford Motor, IBM, GM, and all those companies that traditionally the jobs that they got, if they got them, they were janitors, or they were maids, or they were cook. They were garbage men and what have you. They didn't have those jobs that was made middle-class students. I mean, middle-class individuals. But now when they got to be middle-class individuals, to your point, we lost our Blackness. We lost who we were. Because when we were a community of a whole, we worked together. we struggled together. But then when we started becoming middle class, we started being divided because we didn't want to be none of them. And most of them and us came out of the projects anyway. Very few of us lived in homes or grew up in homes. I did, but it was a home with my grandmother, my mother, and father, and my auntie. All of us lived in one house. We didn't live in a project, but we all lived in one house. It was a family unit. You know what I mean? We were a unit. And then everybody on our street that were in home, they were the same way we were. It was a family reunion, and everybody was the family. The community was the family. We all looked out for one another, but we lost that. And now where we are is we're not looking out for one another. To Ron's point, where are those organizations that gonna feed people? Where are those organizations that's gonna look out for people and fill in this gap? We were the community that did that. We were the community that did that. You know,
That's right.
So we got to go back to being what we were and identifying who we are and take the shirt and tie off and the briefcase and all those other things that we think that we are acceptable by certain people in certain situations. When we see, if you can't smell the stink, it's getting louder and louder and louder. And after a while, you're going to step in it. Go on, Ron. You about to say something.
Tent philosophy and this underlying metric of multiculturalism has now made it publicly difficult for Black Americans to speak on the interests of Black Americans. We have to consistently speak to an agenda in which our needs become a thin sliver in the whole of the message. When I criticize Black politicians like Barack Obama, or Black politicians like who's the Clyburn in South Carolina, or a lot of these long-standing African American politicians who have kind of overseen the Black agenda in mainstream politics the last 35, 40, 50 years, the biggest retort that I get, again, from Black political aficionados is that elected representatives have to deal with more than just a Black agenda, that they have to see about the country as a whole. Well, we can see benefits that have gone to the white community. We can see benefits that have gone to other niche demographic groups. And when we look at the overwhelming poverty, sickness, and mental illness, and other unaddressed generational issues of a humanitarian crisis that was implanted in the Black community since enslavement. And when we talk about our agenda, I mean, Trump gets to say America first. Well, if Black preachers start saying Black America first, we get looked at now as being racist by our so-called allies. And so we're in a weird reality now where putting our agenda first is out of fad with the authority figures of the political group that we are supporting disproportionately. There isn't another racial group supporting a political party in this country as much as Black people are supporting Democrats. And the Democratic Party has blithely ignored our issues and made it politically inconvenient for us to address our own issues. And we're going to have to make a decision to headlock this political party that we are supposedly a part of, who refuses to take our agenda seriously. And we need to get our elected representatives in a headlock. I ain't holding their hands no more. When they come to our community, we need to sit them down and give them a list and let them know you ain't getting up out of this chair until you start connecting with your corporate friends, with your political friends, and with your economic friends and your media friends, and start putting a human spin on the Black agenda and stop making us out to be villains because we put our children first. Stop making us out to be villains because we're putting our history and the mission that our ancestors implanted in us when we were displaced from our homeland. And this is our birthright to answer this call. This is our birthright to be proud of who we are and to represent our culture in everything that we do. That should be the most popular thing you can do as a Black American. That should be the most celebrated thing you should do as a Black American. Because if we are blind to the fact that white Americans are doing things that are directly in their interest, they are supporting Donald Trump because they believe, as ridiculous and expensive as these policies are, that they still believe that they are benefiting, that he is putting a premium on whiteness, that everything that happens in this administration, the filter down, the crumbs that are going to roll off this table that he is set is going to go to them. And they refuse to budge from their support of him politically and economically. And that should be our agenda number one in understanding we are our own greatest ally. And that is the impetus that needs to be in our pulpits. It needs to be in our Sunday school lessons. It needs to be in our after school programs, everywhere where we have our community as a captive audience in spaces we control, in institutions we control. HBCUs, Spelman, Clark, Morris Brown need to be open on the weekends for us to come in and have a connection to our history. ITC, if they still have institutional space, needs to be open so that we can come in and get connected once again to our agenda and turn our institutions like our churches, our rec centers, our libraries that are centered in our community. These need to be action spaces that are available in convenient times when African Americans are off work or on the weekends, in which we can go and get some support and education and put one foot in front of the other to start our own racial uplift in the same model that was advocated by Marcus Garvey, Booker T. Washington, and so many other African American leaders. Bishop, you was right. It's Sankofa time. We got to go back and fetch it. And get back to things that we have left behind.
Ron, you said something that was so powerful, and I want to make sure that we catch this. You said that through our alliances, through this big tent multiculturalism, you said that there's a problem with Black preachers saying Black America first, or that that would be a problem, and we would have a problem with our allies. Go to the Jewish community and say to them, who are allies for justice, and say to them, well, we don't want you saying Jewish community first. No, I agree with you. I think that we absolutely need to say Black America first.
Look, can I
think
say
that we
something?
absolutely need to say that.
Let me just say something. I heard E.W. Smith. I heard him preach a sermon most recently about we are so fixated with everything that's the white Jesus, the white this, everything is the white. So we are inundated with that of the image, the white disciples, the white. I mean, even in the church, I remember years ago, we were doing a program at a church, and they had a picture of the white Jesus on the wall. I asked the pastor to take it down so we can put the banner. We took the banner, took the picture down, and you've never heard such much mumbling and grumbling and the moaning. What is he doing? He's taking Jesus off the wall. See, I mean, we have really gotten away from the sense of who we are, the community, and us. We're being unified. But see, if we said we're gonna be unified, then we're gonna be vilified. Well, we've always been vilified. We always been vilified as a people. We're probably the only people that's been not vilified. Even now, people from our own race vilify us, because they like, well, we got to do this, and we don't need to be. See, what we believe in Jesus, how we believe Jesus, and the love and forgiveness and the thing that we know that we believe in terms of the scriptures. Others don't. They say it, but they don't. They don't believe in it. They just don't. So, I mean, we'll have to stop here now, but because our time has been well spent, but we're going to pick up and we want you to get comments. We want you guys to tell us what you think, what you feel, and subscribe to the channel, like us, make comments, and share. And also, you can go out to Straight Talk News at 1362@gmail.com. Subscribe to our channel. And we're going to see you next week right here on Straight Talk. Ron is running behind, but he is going to say right now, like we always say, do check us in as we go around the world with Straight Talk with news and information. And Shannon, we're praying for your mom and her speedy recovery.
Thank you.
All right. This ain't been nothing but what? Straight
Talk.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Fan at FANN922@Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shannon Jones and Greg Fan, the Preacher Man.